Hi. What's up, guys? Welcome to, of course, another episode of Be Uplifted.
Oh, shit. That one was good. We did it. Finally.
Shit. That was really good.
That was good. I was like, man, it almost felt like the Babes Uplifted days where it would just come out. We finally did it.
Yeah.
We finally did it. Stop trying to put the dick in my face all the time.
Sorry.
God.
I just like the view.
I like that.
I like the view. Anyways, guys, man, so today is going to be a really interesting topic. I've been thinking all day in my head about this, and I wanted to get your guys' opinions about this.
All day?
All day.
Yeah, honestly, all day.
All day.
I've just been dealing with some shit, you know.
Was it echoing?
Huh?
Nothing.
Was it echoing? Yeah. I was like, wait, what? So
Okay, get it.
No. No. What the fuck? But anyway, so yeah, basically I've been thinking about how, like, we've all been through some shit, right? And I feel like, especially toxic shit in our lives. So wanted to see if maybe those toxicity stuff happened and it portrayed sticky on us, or how the fuck do I explain this shit?
The trauma made toxicity.
Yes. Yes. You got my back.
You know what I'm saying? I got you, girl. I knew what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
Has any of these traumatic experiences caused the toxic traits that you currently have as a person?
Yes.
All right.
And
That's deep.
I'm going to start it off for sure.
Let's go.
I'm going to say yes. Only because, I mean, you guys have heard about this plenty of times on our streams and all that stuff, is that obviously my childhood wasn't the best. But made the most of it. But because of all the shit that I went through, specifically like with my dad, I feel like it fucked me up, and now it's like I'm paying for it. Because of the fact of like, so for example, growing up, I felt like I wasn't good enough or I wasn't doing enough. So now in my relationship and just life in general, I feel like I'm never satisfied.
I get that. Like, you always think you should be doing more.
Yeah.
Because you never thought you were good enough in the first place.
Right.
Whew. That hit me here. You are good enough, okay?
Thank you. I mean, yes, like sometimes I have to remind myself, but that's where my like self-sabotage comes in, and it's like, no, bitch. Like, why do you, like, okay, let's be real. Why do you think I work so goddamn much? Like, why do I have all these fucking different channels of like
Side hustles.
Yes. Yeah.
To keep your mind off of the fact that you're worried about not being enough.
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah.
Queer Rich, let us have it. What about you? Tell us about some of your traumas that you think have they not shaped any of your, toxic traits, etc.
It depends on what you define as toxic.
Well, you tell me your thoughts and your opinions
like,
on when you hear one say that. What do you think about?
Like, to be honest with you, like,
you're like, I'm fucking toxic.
no, like, when somebody says like toxic masculinity, I have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
So, kind of like controlling.
Red flag.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Red flag. So like controlling could be one.
Yeah, but why is it masculinity? Because anybody can be controlling. So why is it relegated to always be anything that people say? It's always, it's not just, I'm controlling, I'm this, I'm that. It always goes, it's toxic masculinity.
I don't really label it as like toxic masculinity. I think
toxic masculinity in my terms of a definition is more like you using your manhood as a way to belittle us. Like when you use your being a man, like I'm a man, so I have the right to do this and you don't. That's toxic masculinity, not necessarily the task like being stronger, smarter, that can provide more, make more money. I don't really think, in my opinion, that's what it is. I think it's more so when a man uses his gender and his role to feel more overpowered over a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So I always hear it and I'm like, I just don't understand it. Like, I'll be perfectly honest.
I'm a man and you're a woman, so you're beneath me. That's toxic masculinity.
big facts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in that case, I mean, I don't. Look, I personally feel a lot of times the we are to blame for a lot of the toxicity in our lives. I think a lot of times we tend to label things as a way to make it so that you have you have something to point to, as opposed to pointing at yourself. You know, it's a lot of times it's you know, my parents are on my ass. They're so toxic. But then you really get down to the root of it. Well, what have you done to cause your parents to be on you? Is it the fact that you don't have a job and you're still living at home? Is it the fact that you're not, you know, you're barely helping out at home? You know what I mean? So that's always like how I approach things, I guess, when it comes to the toxicity. When people say, oh, that person's so toxic. Generally, when I think of that, I think of work. Like, you know, your boss is toxic. But as far as things that happen in my life, it's rare that anybody that kind of toxicity has an effect on me, because I could always separate myself.
That's a lot of manpower
and a lot of man in you.
Yeah, because the way I think of it is like, I feel like my toxic traits is because of what I learned from my traumatic experiences growing up.
Okay, so you're saying that it's toxic, not necessarily. It's more like a broad term.
Yeah.
For the toxic, so it's more like due to my trauma, I tend to have these fears, which then create this toxic, like, kind of cloud around me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good way. My earrings are hurting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take them off.
They're good.
But yeah, the way that he described it was really well. I agree with that.
Yeah, you basically took the words out of my mouth. I didn't know how else to explain it, but exactly, that's what it is. So I guess the question will come kind of back to you is like, any traumatic experiences that you had in the past, you feel like it's still like hovering over you?
Like, for example, like, did you have a dad that told you, you know, men don't fucking cry, so now you're not necessarily the most emotional sharing person and you wish you could work on that? That would be like an example of like trauma coming up into a trait for you that has made you struggle in one way or another.
I think, you know, growing up, you know, I was, you know, being born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s and 90s, that was the norm. You know, The Cure has a popular song, Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
You know, and then we all sing along like it's like when you sing along to it, even though you might not necessarily believe in the meaning, I guess it just becomes it becomes prevalent. Like, it just kind of like, it's a natural thing that you just kind of like absorb, like osmosis. And yeah, you know, it used to be like boys don't cry, and then sometimes it's like you feel it where you're so angry that you just want to cry. Right. But I think it's best to just fucking let it out. But you actually, as Lani was saying, it's like you actually harness that, and then you keep it inside, and you keep it in this little box, and that little box becomes toxic. It becomes like, if you talk about like anything like medically, right? It's anything starts to, you know, become septic.
Yeah.
And it becomes infectious.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden it becomes deadly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it's exactly what it's doing inside of you. Exactly.
What about you, Aurie? Do you have any traumatic experiences that you feel like has brought you over to the person you are today, being toxic traits?
I think the amount of bullshit that I've put up with in relationships has a lot to do with me hearing like my machismo uncles like saying like men are supposed to cheat, you know, it's just part of life, or like seeing like my parents argue or whatever, and it seemed just like being like a normal thing, you know, like I didn't realize like this is a dysfunctional way of dealing with your emotions, people screaming at each other. I didn't know people like sat down and had healthy conversations about their issues, you know? So I had those same toxic traits, and I had to like unlearn those things, you know?
Right.
To better myself. So, and then definitely like trust issues, you know, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, okay, so I guess the next question is kind of like, if you have to recognize it, obviously, but how do you like stop doing that? Or how would you feel like you recognize and you're like, fuck, I don't want to be this person because that's what I grew up with or whatever. How do you rework yourself to unlearn that?
I don't know. I'm extremely self-aware. Like me personally, I'm so scared of turning out like the things that I've seen that it's almost the opposite where I'm too scared. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I kind of like obsess, like, you know, I research, I read books, I like do all these things about like mental health because I'm so scared to like not break these generational curses. But it's hard because
Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you.
It's hard because your partner's not always on the same page. Like Anthony
Yes.
didn't start to see like the relevance of like childhood traumas and things like that until we started to see it pop up more like in our marriage, you know? So it's kind of like
Yeah.
you have to be on the same page too.
Right. Same question goes to you, Rich.
Yeah, I think you know, like it's just the ability to move forward. I think a lot of times, like we tend to. I mean, I've noticed in recent years, everybody just kind of labels things. As I mentioned earlier, you label things, and when you label things, you have something to blame,
Right.
right? And then when you do that, sometimes it makes your life stagnant because you have something to point to, right? I
Yeah.
think for me to move in how you recognize and move forward is that you actually have to move forward.
Absolutely.
You have to take the necessary steps because you could be so comfortable in being miserable that you don't know that you have to take the necessary steps forward to fix yourself.
Yeah, I've definitely had to share that with some friends where it's kind of just like you have the right to feel upset about what you went through and, you know, be scarred by it. But like there's a point where you just have to kind of just suck it up and be like, okay, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it then? You know, are you going to just continue to sit here and wallow, or are you going to grow from it, become a better person from it, you know, like learn from it? I
Yeah.
think that's a maturity level too, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, what you guys are saying is like super valid, and even with Queer Rich, like literally Kuya, like that's your name is like fitting to what everything that you're saying, because like, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and I will say that myself included, like a lot of the things or feelings and emotions that I go through, it's like, fuck, I know I'm feeling like this because the shit that I went through.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where it was just kind of like killing me all day today, was just trying to figure out like, when does that stop for me, you know? And I don't want it to keep like repeating, and I'm trying to figure out ways like, how can I get over it, you know?
Well, why do you care so much? Like, so there's a second part to that. It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
It's because I would never give a fuck about somebody that didn't give a fuck about me. Why am I giving them that precious time that I had? You spent the whole day wondering why somebody was trying to cage you in. They didn't care enough about you, so why would you care enough about that moment? You just, again, you need to move past that and say, I don't really care.
I think because we're programmed that goes along with the generational thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, in our culture, especially,
Right.
you're like programmed to need to give a fuck about your family, or else you're like a terrible person.
Right.
No matter how toxic your parents are, or how toxic, you know, their values are, you have to just follow them to get along, you know? So I think that kind of, it's like a deeper
Yeah.
thing to dive into, you
Yeah.
know, in regards to that.
Yeah, the whole like reprogramming your head to like, yes, this is what I was raised by, but do I believe in that now?
Right, exactly.
Like that's the part that just kind of like, I feel like not only myself, but I know I've talked to a lot of people that still fucks with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's you know, especially in Filipino culture, is the whole thing about like the word respect,
Yes.
Yeah.
or well, how do they say, like utang sa loob?
Right.
Yeah.
mhm,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that it's like I realized when I was like younger that whenever somebody said you have to respect your elders, I took it as I don't necessarily have to respect the person, but I will give him the courtesy.
Okay.
Right. So let's say I have an issue with my aunt's husband, her new husband or whatever,
Okay.
and we're just not getting along. A lot of times they say, "Oh, you got to respect him because he's your uncle." But to me, I'm like, okay, no, I do not have to respect him because I do not know him on that level. but I will give him the courtesy to say hello, to be cordial.
Common courtesy.
Common courtesy when he walks in the door.
Okay.
You know, I don't have to sit there and be like, oh, I respect the man. I put him on a pedestal. I will give him the common courtesy. I'm not going to be bastos. I'm not going to talk back.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give him the common courtesy to say, hey, hello, have you eaten, blah, blah, blah. But it's not, I think Filipinos, we misunderstand the whole meaning of respect.
Yeah, you hold respect in the regards it's supposed to be, which is a high regard, right?
Right.
Whereas like Filipinos think it's just like a right that they have, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm older, so I get that right, which is not necessarily correct, right?
Yeah, when you say, oh, you have no respect, I go, no, it's not that I don't have the respect. I just disagree with a guy. I give him the ultimate courtesy for him to be sitting in my living room.
Yeah. So would you give like that, how should I say this? But okay, for me, it's like, I'll show you like courtesy and stuff like that, but I'm not going to act like I give a fuck when I don't. So that's like where it has like that thin line of respect for me.
You can't play the politics game.
No, I can't.
You can't be a politician.
No.
Another thing, like going further than just like relationships, right? If you want to talk like even broader, I feel like within the Filipino culture, one thing that causes a lot of trauma and toxic traits in our culture is like the colonial mentality, right? Like you're raised to think that like the lighter skin you are, the more successful, the richer you are, that like if you marry a doctor or whatever, then, or if you are a doctor or nurse, then you're the golden child and anything else is like shitty, you know?
The hierarchy of it.
Yeah. So it's like, there's all these expectations in our culture. And if they're not met, then you're like, you're not good enough, you know? So it causes a lot of people in our like younger age ranges, they feel very self-conscious. They feel very insecure. They don't feel worthy for their parents, you know, like. All right, everyone. So we're going to take a moment right now to pay some bills. We have to, of course, mention our very own sponsor, our very special own sponsor, Mikey's Meals. And I'm going to pass it over to my beautiful co-host right here. She's going to give you the deets on that.
Yes, so if you're in the San Diego area and you're looking for a meal prep company, Mikey's Meals is where it's at. So go ahead and visit his website at mikeysmeals.com and use our code TheBabes10 for 10% off your first order.
That's 10% off your first order.
Whoop, whoop. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. Now, going on to our episode.
Kind of like what you were talking about, where you're like, I'm not good enough.
Guilty. Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
That's why we're so light, like all of us.
I am dark.
You are beautifully brown. But you know, when you're saying that, like, my family never really like told me like, oh, you need to be lighter or like anything like that. So I'm thankful for that. But they did tell me like, oh, if you date a white man, like, you'll get this and this and this. So not necessarily for me, but to like portray for a better future for myself and my future kids.
Yeah, they definitely put the white man on a pedestal, I feel. They like that white privilege. They want some of that. They want a piece of that.
They do, but also I did inquire about this several years ago to a couple of my friends that married white, and they met in the Philippines,
Right.
and the reason why, and it wasn't necessarily colonialism, it was just about the fact that where there's not a lot of giddy up when it comes to Filipino men in the Philippines sometimes.
No, I get that too.
So
yeah, there's also that side of it.
Yeah, so you know the individuals that they're around would rather just hang out and drink. You know
Right.
that Tagay society.
Yeah.
Right?
That's hella my family.
Yeah. But so who do you pick? Do you save yourself, or do you just go with
Right, it was like their ticket out of there too.
Yeah.
I feel that.
And that's sometimes, again, that's why, you know, it's such this subject, sometimes it's just so you can't like just stereotype it, I guess, like put it in a box and say this is how it is. You know, you said that you never had your family say that, you know, you're so dark or whatever. I've heard it in my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, you're so dark. You know, you look like you work outside. But again, we're from the South. You know, it's sometimes different cultures.
Right.
You know, different type of upbringings within the Filipinos. Like if I was more in north, like Manila, it'd probably be okay to be darker, but not in the South.
Yeah, that's like my family. It's not okay to be dark. Like I was told that my whole life. I was given pills, lotions. I was taken to the doctor. Like they're like, here, you need to get light so you could be pretty like your cousins. You know.
Well, even when you watch like the Filipino channel, like TFC was it TFC?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and all the actors, all like the little dance
They don't even look
girls,
Filipino anymore.
they don't.
Yeah.
And you can tell because there's a certain type of cast in their face when it's from bleaching creams and stuff, you know? And it's just crazy because I'm like, but the good thing is I don't know if you see any of those accounts on Instagram. I see a lot more awareness being brought to like the Filipino culture about like how that's not right to be like that, you know? That we should be more like in tune with where we came from and proud of our tan skin. There's a lot of people talking, like speaking out about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that kind of ties into like the toxicity of what you grew up with.
Right. Exactly.
And then like bringing it up to now, like what changes should you make for your future?
Like for me, like the white skin thing that I shared, like my change that I made for my future with my kids is I tell the girls like they're beautiful in the skin they're in. Like, you know, like Izzy will be like, am I too dark, Mom? Like she'll be in the sun and she'll be hella dark. I'm like, no, you chocolate brown girl, you look delicious. You know, like I don't ever want them to feel self-conscious about their looks because that's one of the things that really fucking made me have a toxic trait of like being insecure and like whatever is because I was always told like something was wrong with my appearance, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So what made you break out of that mold, I guess, of fear and shame? I
mean, if I'm being honest, I'm still extremely self-conscious every single day. But what pushes me is seeing my kids. That's my daughters. That's actually probably the biggest confidence booster because I never want her to look in the mirror and think she's not good enough. So I have to portray that confidence so that she can be confident too, you know? Because if I'm constantly, like someone had said to me, like, you know, if your daughter hears you saying that you're fat and she thinks that that's normal, right? You're always looking in the mirror, calling yourself fat. What would you do if you saw her catching herself in the mirror and calling herself fat? Would that break your heart? I'd be like, well, yeah, like I don't ever want her to.
That's true.
You know,
that's a good way to like look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my big, like, okay, even if I have to fucking fake the funk, I'm going to be confident, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, okay, and it's crazy how kind of like how we turn this to be like the whole culture thing, right? But and it kind of, I guess, in a way, it does tie about the whole toxic and traumas and shit, right? So, like, for example, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've heard this with, like, your female cousins or in your family, but I know, Aurie, you've heard this too, but it's like, for example, for me, since I'm not full Filipino and I'm Mexican too, I'm going to have those Mexican curves and whatever, right? But I've been told by, like, my older grandmas or aunties and stuff, they're just, you know, like, oh, you need to like lose weight or whatever, right? And it's always been like, oh, it's just because we're like looking out for your health, right? But in actuality, like if you look at the world now, like women are beautiful in all different shapes and sizes, right?
Exactly.
So
and healthy in those sizes,
yeah. So like, how can you break that habit of thinking from what you've been told your whole entire life, and then to think like this is not normal, like this is not how I should be looking, you know? But then on another spectrum, you're being told like, feel confident in your body and you look great if you feel great, blah blah blah, but only change because it's something that you want. But you're constantly getting something else
told to you,
and I think that's like a really hard balance, especially for females, you know. So I know with males, it's like a whole different type of.
Yeah, we just ignore it. Like it's
damn.
It's weird because it's like, you know, you get that. Oh, you've gained weight. Oh, really? Yeah. Walk away and be like, whatever.
Guys really do care less. I do notice.
Yeah,
that.
they do.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and it's like that's sometimes like in this conversation, like as you guys were talking in my head, I'm like, just turn
Fuck
around,
'em.
turn around. Yeah, just turn around and walk away, because at the end of the day, somebody has to make the change. Like Aurie said, she still has some sort of like trauma when it comes to it, but she has to do it for her daughters. But her daughters are not going to grow up that way. Right. So she just changed a generation. Right? She just made she made a change.
Damn, apparently I just need to pop out some kids then, huh? No.
It helps, I tell you. I mean, I'm not saying like you need to do that, but you know, it helps.
No, I'm not going to be popping out kids.
No, but like if somebody says, oh, you need to
come next week. You guys, I have a confession.
It's gonna be a baby shower and shit the next episode.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like the aunties, they'll tell you, oh, you need to lose some weight, and then you see their husband sitting over there with a gigantic beer belly, or their son that's overweight, they just talk. Sometimes it's
they have nothing better in their life, so they just have to be miserable with you in there. They're bringing you down.
It's crazy because it's like a lot of the shit we're talking about is because of our fucking culture.
I know. Okay, let's bring it back away from the culture for a second. Traumas that have caused toxic traits. Let's specifically talk again about like significant other. Have you guys ever been in like an abusive relationship or been through cheating or anything of those types of natures of any kind of trauma that made you like move differently in your future relationships?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys all know that.
Toxically, though. Not in a healthy way. Like, not that you learned something, but something that you're like, fuck, like, I'm bringing that into my new relationship, but I'm trying to check myself. You know?
Yeah, it's not from, like, a previous like a romantic relationship, but, like, for example, with my dad and then my current relationship. Like, I've never been in any relationships that I've been in that really, like, highlighted, like, fuck, these are, like, really bad red flags about me. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's why I'm, like, asking about it. I'm like, fuck, like, your answer is, like, just don't give a fuck. But then there's still part of me that I'm a female and I have emotions. And it's just, like, fuck, like, how do I just stop this, though, you know? So, like...
How do I not give a fuck?
Yeah, how do I not give a fuck?
Cardi B said it.
How do I not give a fuck and then not make this person feel the way that I felt growing up, you know?
Right.
So, like, specifically, like, the whole, like, not making you feel like enough, but it's because, like, I'm constantly, like, doing other things and you're like, fuck, you're, like, doing shit and I feel like I'm not enough because you're doing all this other shit.
Yeah.
And then I was also taught, like, if you're going to be fucking doing it, you might as well fucking do it yourself because you're going to do it wrong anyways if somebody else does.
So you never trust your significant other because you're taught do it yourself if you want it done right, basically. Yeah.
But like, so in your situation now, if you were to fail, how does that affect them?
Because all my fucking emotions and my anger and all that.
I get that, but how does it affect them?
Well, they have to deal with it.
Yeah. That's all you have to say.
But is that enough, though?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you don't answer to them. You don't raise them. You're not paying their mortgage. If they failed, you think that they're carrying that you think they care about what you're thinking?
When you say failed, like my partner or the person who put that trauma to me?
People in general. Like, you got to look at it like people in general, not just because it's going to affect you with anybody that you think that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Or you're not good enough to in their eyes. Mm-hmm. So if they were to fail, do you think they care? Do you think they're looking to say, "Oh man, I can't fail because Lani might, you know"?
I mean, I hope not.
You know,
but
yeah. I'm saying like at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can or cannot do that affects them. You have no control over that.
That's true.
So you just got to live your life the way you want to do it, and you got to move one step at a time. And if you fail, you fail. If you pass, you pass. And at the end of the day,
that's just great that your life is that easy.
I know.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying it's all a part of like, okay, let's say I grew up and my mom said I was never good enough, right? So today, if I feel like I'm still not good enough, what is the effect between me and my mom? Like if she said I was never good enough and then I got a job, a different job, it doesn't really change the dynamic.
Yeah, but I think we're talking more about the effects that it have on the future people because of that. Like, is now, since his mom never told him he was good enough, is he going to move forward in all of his romantic relationships always thinking that he's, like, not a good enough man because that's how he was made to feel? You know, like, maybe it doesn't change the dynamic between you and the perpetrator originally, but the future,
forward.
is what we're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's different with guys. I mean, the guys is different with me. Yeah. Like, for me, a lot of it happened during my divorce.
Okay, so if without, you like
going
me overstepping, I don't want to overstep. Share a little bit about your experience, like, and how that affected you, and if it brought out any like traumas or toxic traits.
it highlighted the toxic traits.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
Right. And remember, I talked about it. I talked about how I took that opportunity to fix myself.
May I ask, like, an example of a toxic trait that you like recognize and are currently or have have fixed it?
So let's say you're with with a person. You guys date. You guys get married, and during the whole dating phase, and before marriage and moving in together, anytime you guys go out, you're dressing well. You're kind of because you're quote unquote mating at that point.
Right.
Okay.
Then
courting.
Courting. There you go. Better word.
Mating. Isn't that the sex part?
Yeah. But then you guys get married and everything gets kind of comfortable. So now you're walking around in
Pang bahay.
Yeah, exactly. You're walking around in pang bahay.
House clothes, guys.
It's been a while since you've gotten a haircut. It's been a while since you've shaved. And sometimes it could be 3-4 days and you haven't taken a shower.
Whoa.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just giving you I'm giving you guys an example.
Okay.
And that slowly starts to affect your marriage because that's no longer
this sexy spicy thing.
The sexy spicy thing, and it realistically you've kind of like evolved into something else.
True.
Right?
Okay. It happens for sure.
But for a lot of us though, a lot of people, they never think that is the problem. They never think that, their wife started looking at other men or started to stray because of them, because of what they've done. It's always the other person's fault.
I don't know about that. Only because, again, that goes back to what did I do wrong for you to do that?
I let myself go.
So you think you let yourself go?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I 100%.
So she strayed.
Yes.
And then,
and
so how does that affect you now? Like, so you're now more taking care of yourself.
I'm more taking care of myself.
His nice ass calves.
I know, right?
I take care of myself.
So you do think that you were part of the problem because you let yourself go?
100%. I always, that's from me. Mm-hmm. Anytime a relationship dissolves, everybody takes an equal part in it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it. I mean, obviously, in an abusive relationship, it just kind of changes. It changes the dynamics. But like in general, that's how I look. Like even okay, somebody strays, right, and then they cheat on you. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times people go, "Oh man, I can never get back with her because she slept with another person."
Yeah.
Right.
But what did it happen to get to that point?
No, not even. It's not even that. It's like in your workup process for me to not think about that. I had to go. Well, before I dated her, she probably slept with a shit ton of dudes too.
True.
So if I were to fix this relationship now, in going forward, it'd be like the exact same thing as we started dating. I didn't care then. Why would I care now? I know that emotionally you're
almost tricking yourself.
Somebody did you wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I related it to okay, so this is start anew. It's almost like, I've met her for the second time, and now we got to move forward. But the good thing is that, and I've said this, I think, in a previous podcast, is that if it doesn't work out, I've fixed myself for the next relationship. So technically, I'm not building the same house twice with the same bricks. And that's why a lot of people will always say, hey, I don't know, some dudes will be like, hey man, every girl I meet or every girl I start dating cheats on me. Well, what's the common denominator?
Mm-hmm. Here we go back to the common denominator.
There's always it's always a common denominator. Like we're talking about, stars that get married multiple times. Right? What's a common denominator? Not one fucking star.
What am I doing wrong, guys? Don't just
Fuck.
No, that's all it is. I mean, you sometimes you have to find ways to do mental gymnastics to get rid of a lot of those toxic traits and move forward. And that's why, you might say it's hard for me it's hard to say, I'm not gonna care about someone that doesn't care about me. But you have to continuously tell yourself that it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah,
right.
I'm like, I've told myself I can't live up to what my mom is expecting. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. I have to just do it my own way, and she would have to accept me. She would have to meet me halfway.
Yeah.
She would have to meet me where I'm at, because there's no way that I'm going to live up to that expectation. And I can't live up to the expectation of the family because they can go fuck themselves.
I've accepted that too. Because
Yeah.
I'm like the black sheep because I'm like the kid that didn't go to the college and like get the nursing degree.
Yeah.
You know, so I get that. What were you going to say?
Oh no, like damn, maybe I'm just being fucking impatient because I'm just tired of dealing with all this bullshit, you know. And it's
No,
just
I
like,
think everyone has their breaking point, you
Yeah.
know, and you just happen to be on stream today for that. No, just kidding. Well, not stream, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
yeah,
Recording for that today.
yeah,
I mean, also stop working. Go enjoy life for once.
yeah,
Go see culture. Go travel somewhere and just breathe the ocean air. Sometimes you know what it is? It's like, you know, you see those old dudes like in their 60s and 70s, and they just sit at the park and going, what the fuck is that guy just sitting at the park all day? Try it though.
yeah.
Try it though.
Yeah.
Try it. And you say like, oh fuck, it's really peaceful.
Okay, I have a question. Back to the traumatic things and toxic traits. If there's one toxic quote unquote trait that you've acquired that you've recognized in yourself, you know, like that you're a jealous person or whatever that you have trust issues, pick one. And what is that? And like, how are you trying to fix that?
Oh, y'all looking at me. I feel like probably the most toxic trait I have, has to be like making other people maybe feel like they're not good enough. Yeah, at least in my in relationships, I feel
making
like
the other one feel like they're not good
Yeah.
enough because you're always taking care of yourself, basically. is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Oh, that's a good one.
yeah, because I
Like to trust more, basically.
Yeah, it goes in hand because it's like when I've given other people trust to like take care of me, like they let me down.
Right.
And then now, like being in this relationship now where he's willing and wanting to, I don't know how to do that because I'm just like I have too much traumatic experiences and like trauma that I'm just like, I don't know how to do that, you know? And
Yeah.
even like the littlest bit, I'm like, okay, no, I still want control over it because I like, at least I know how I can like plan ahead for it or
Right.
something, you know?
Makes
So
sense.
I think that has to be the most traumatic and
So
toxic
you're
shit.
so you're
about
currently
me.
trying to learn how to let go of some control.
Yeah. So I guess I don't want to say that I'm trying to, I'm aware of it now.
Right.
And now I'm just trying to figure out how I can like break that. So like even when I
Break my heart. Oh.
talking about fucking what's it called? No, but it's I'm glad that I recognize it
Yeah,
because then I feel
definitely.
like it's not like it's too late.
That's where the growth happens, right? Once
Right.
you recognize it. How about you, Kuya? Do you have a trait that you're like, man, I recognize this in myself and I've been working on it or I'm currently working on it?
It's always been impatience.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'm very like I always need, like, if I'm asking a question, I hate if I have to wait like an hour or two for a response.
Oh fuck! He's saying we're the ones. No.
right? He's like, you
No.
bitches.
No,
In our text messages.
there's a lot of like
Now I can picture him. Fuck, man. Can you guys just... Sorry, we love you.
no, it's there's still a lot of impatience, and I think sometimes with the impatience comes impulsiveness. Right, and then sometimes you're impatient. I get so impatient. I end up being impulsive, which makes me susceptible to a lot of mistakes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Makes sense.
And a lot of times when I'm impatient and I could also be moody and snappy, right? Right. So, there are times though, like, you know, like I will just suck it up. Again, you know, I don't know. I guess I just have the ability to suck it up. But there's certain things that happen sometimes, and I'm just like, and then,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, toxic. I don't know. Toxic at this point. I'm just.
What about you, Ari? What do you feel like is your most toxic motherfucking trait?
Okay, so my thing is like I'm super patient and I'm super kind, but when you get me there, so like if you hurt me or say something hurtful to me and I take it and I take it and I take it, this is my toxic trait. I will make you cry. Like I will say some fucked up shit to you from the darkest depths of my soul that's just pulling out everything I know about you and using it against you, and just I want to hurt you as much as you've hurt me if you get me there, because it takes so much to get me there. You know what I mean? Like I've had some people do some really fucked up shit to me and I just take it. But there's been the one or two people that have done some fucked up shit to me that I'm like, all right, now I'm blowing up, you know? And so I think I need to learn to not have to like hurt that person and kind of just like, because they're making me come out of character, right? You know what I'm saying? And I don't
As like a revenge, or just because
like if me and my best friend, okay, for example, like one of my best friends, she fucking slept with my man, right? So I called her all of her insecurities because I'm like, you want to fucking hurt me, I'll fucking hurt you 10 times worse, you know? And she cried and she was super upset, and it made me happy that she was that way, you know? So my thing is like,
you just slept with your man. I would do the same thing.
yeah, but my thing is like, that's obviously an extreme case, is like, I want to be able to have someone hurt me and me just let it go. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, when it's that extent, I don't ever want anybody to make me come out of character, if that makes sense. Like, it's not my character to be angry. It's not my character to be cruel, to be mean. So if you get me there, it's really bad. So I want to learn to never have to get there, you know?
Is there a difference between just being mean and being frank? Because I think at some point, though, if you let it fester, then it becomes this gigantic Pandora's box.
Well, I think that's also the lesson, right? Is to not let it get to that point where it's festering.
Right.
That's the thing, is I'm patient for so long, and instead of being patient, I probably need to kind of just like let it go little by little, you know, instead of just like, all right, I'm gonna let this one go. I shouldn't let it go. I should just talk about it in the beginning, you know. That's probably part of the lesson.
Yeah. And I feel like going about lessons, I feel like maybe if this connects with you, but for sure connects with me, is like, I'm going to learn from this point on, like, just to not give a fuck.
Yeah, definitely that too. I need to stop giving a fuck, like Queer Rich. That seems to be the best technique in life.
We're just such caring people.
I know. I really care way too much. That's
no, I'm saying it's a waste of your time.
Yeah.
I know you're right. We know you're right. It's just
we
hard,
know
okay?
you're right. We know that's the answer.
I'm saying, just like there's so many other things to do in this world, like learn how to edit.
Wow. Shots fired.
Okay, so we're just going to put this out there. I don't know when this is going to be aired. But if you notice we had a couple of Sundays missing, that's because Queer Rich knows that we're at his like fucking beck and like, oh my God, please. Because he's the only one that knows how to fucking do the technical shit. And like, we couldn't do anything without him, and we're so grateful for him. So don't leave us. We love you.
I'm not going to leave you guys. Crazy.
He's like, nah, because I know one day y'all going to blow up and I'm going to get some of that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hire somebody.
I'm manifesting it. We're going to blow up.
We're going to blow up.
We're going to make it rain on Queer. There's going to be an episode
Hella, with $2 steaks.
Right?
Yeah.
And
No,
big titties.
fuck that. But at that point, you're like, fuck the $2 steaks. I want some like Ray Gatos or some shit.
Right? Exactly.
No, we get down, keep it. You know, hey, the millionaire next door drives a Honda Civic.
That's true.
Oh.
That's true. He
Smart.
drives a Lexus, so he's even cooler.
That's listen.
He doesn't drive a Lexus.
That's a Prius. That's a Prius. That's a luxury Prius.
We just changed the emblems, you know,
Right, exactly.
and put a body kit on the Prius.
So do you guys have anything else that you want to speak on or share in regards to trauma and traits and experiences? Is there any words of wisdom you'd like to give people that are currently like, you know what, I'm really fucked up from my previous relationships or the way that I was raised? What's your words of wisdom? Let's land on that.
Wow. Don't pay attention to the internet. Get off of social media.
That part.
Go read a real book. Go live a real life. Because there's I'll browse through social media and there's all these little podcasts about dudes talking about being alpha males. Listen, if you have to tell me you're a fucking alpha male, you are definitely not a fucking alpha male, you asshole.
You can say that again.
Passionate about that, and that's true though.
And then there's a lot of so-called relationship experts that actually it's prevalent now in our society where everybody's always trying to split people up.
Yeah,
right?
the whole cancel culture and like drama and
well, not
everything.
even that. It's like the Republicans, Democrats, right?
Oh, I see.
Then even the news tries to separate people. Then you have these relationship experts that go, oh, this advice is solely for women and this advice is for men, and it's always there's always a way for somebody to split you up to capitalize and monetize on you.
Right. That's true.
There's rarely going to be a podcast or a show that you go on that's going to actually give you both sides of the story.
But this one,
but definitely this one,
boom,
where it you get like all these dudes talking about like, yeah, man, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, yeah, and I'm dating like 3 or 4 women. I sleep with 3 or 4 women a week, and I'm like, when do you have time to create content?
Ew.
He's like, that is my content.
No, it isn't though. It's all a flex,
right?
It's all for clout, like.
God.
And that's, but at the end of the day, you just have to. I always say that you have to live your life. If you're young, go travel the world while you still can, when you don't have a family, you don't have kids, and you have the means to do so, and seeing other countries, seeing how they live, and enjoying the culture elsewhere, that's when you could start bringing in a lot of like influences to change your perception of life
that's true.
from a lot of like the toxicity that was basically handed down to you,
because your world gets bigger, right?
But you also see like how people work and how people react. It's like, oh, okay, so I guess this, let me take a little bit of this, the Southeast Asian Buddhist, ideas, and then, implement that with, the Spanish siesta, type of thing. And then it just gives you a much clearer mind.
That's how you know he's been traveling the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true when you're more cultured. That's true.
That's very true.
What about you?
How can I give advice to myself about that? I'm gonna just give myself an assignment. An assignment to anybody who can relate to me or whatever. Just learn, like what Queer Rich said, just learn to not give a fuck and
let it go.
And just let it go. Yeah. What about you?
I think one of the things I would want is, obviously I agree with you guys, but also to like teach someone that's like in that mentality, like there's always room for growth. Like you don't have to stay that person just because you're that person.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Like a lot of people will be like, well, I'm just like that. And it's like, well, you don't have to be, like
right.
You don't have to continue to carry that trauma. Like it doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, 80, like if you truly want to break this quote unquote generational curse that you're carrying, then make that choice and take the steps to do so.
That's a really fucking good, like, just to highlight that's a really fucking good one, because I'm so sick and tired of people saying like, well, that's just how I am.
Right.
And it's like, damn.
Yeah. Cause like just change it.
Oh, are you guilty?
No.
Okay.
I just find it funny when people say that's just how I am.
Yeah.
And it's like,
what do you mean?
So you're stuck and you don't evolve anymore?
Right.
Yes.
Like there's no longer growth in your life? Okay, good for you then.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're not the person for me.
Right. You like don't even want to try to change.
Right. All right. Well, man, thanks for doing this therapy session with me today, guys.
That was a great conversation. I loved it.
Yes, yeah. So, but thank you guys so much also for tuning in to another week of an episode of Be Uplifted, and we will see you guys on the next one.
And if you guys, before they go, because we always forget, we talked about it earlier, we always forget we are available on...
Yes.
Yes, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube.
YouTube. Yes, if you want to see our beautiful faces, peep the YouTube. Otherwise, you can just hear Lani's sexy voice.
So
because I can't give you that.
So good morning, good night, good afternoon, and we'll see you on the next one.
Oh gosh! Whoa!
Sunday mornings, 9 a.m.
9 a.m. We'll see you guys.
Okay.
Bye.